We come now to our time of exhortation, which prepares us, our hearts, to confess our sin as we come before the holiness of God. And sometimes these topics of weekly exhortations come more easily than others. Sometimes they are the result of a lot of thought and planning. And sometimes they come as the result of providence and my own need of sanctification and confession of sin. And this week is the latter. This week I had not one, but 2 packages delayed in shipment. And I am a generally patient person, but Amazon Prime 2-day shipping has ruined me. At least before COVID, when that was actually a thing that we still pay for but don't get, but that's a whole other topic. I would refresh that tracking page multiple times a day, multiple times an hour maybe, as if that would make the trucks move faster or something. I even called, this is shameful, I even called UPS to see if I could go pick up my package from the hub in Valdosta that missed the truck, which makes total sense. I don't know why we can't, but they told me no, it's not open to the public. And then I realized that I just needed to chill. Just needed to chill. It's not like I was anxious to get life-saving medication for my family or something. I was anxious over toys for me and my boys. And in my discontented refreshing of tracking numbers, I hadn't been practicing patience. Instead, I had been practicing impatience and discontentment. You see, there are 2 common phrases that we use regarding patience. We say it all the time, but don't really think about what they mean. One is practice patience, and the other is patience is a virtue. And both of these common phrases reveal that patience is a habit that must be cultivated. You aren't suddenly, and you don't suddenly become a patient person. Patience requires practice. You grow in patience as you resist instant gratification and wait for things, even little things, and especially little things, in their own time. We can tend to think of virtues as these like innate character traits. This person is virtuous, they are patient, or they are loving, or they are brave. These are just things that are in them, right? But that's not really what virtues are. I think we can understand this when we think about what a virtue is in light of its opposite, a vice. What is vice? A vice is a bad habit. And so therefore, virtue is a good habit, which means virtue must be developed. And if patience is a virtue, patience must be developed. And sinners, like ourselves, have struggled with impatience ever since the fall. And at some level, it is even seen in that original sin. Eve desired the forbidden fruit because it would make her wise instantly. Rather than patiently walking with God and being taught by God and growing in wisdom through a right relationship with Him, she sought to take wisdom in her own hand and in her own time, and she took and ate, along with her husband Adam, in whom we all have fallen. So this is no new sin, but today's economy and culture is fueled by impatience, impulse buys, algorithm-targeted ads, next-day shipping, weight loss drugs, AI, push notifications, and therefore there is no end to the now. And still, one of the fruits of the Spirit is patience. And God intends to work patience into and out of His people. And so the excuse, I'm just not a very patient person, isn't going to cut it. Neither will blaming the technology or society. We must take responsibility for our own sin. Confess it to the Lord, receive His forgiveness, and then walk in obedience with the Spirit. And so practice patience. And here are sort of 3 ways that I've thought of to help us practice patience. Number 1 is remember the sovereignty of God. Remember the sovereignty of God. Remember that God is in control of the timing of all things, from the smallest details to the largest, most significant things. And so, whatever you are waiting on, you are ultimately waiting on the Lord. And so remember that His providence is good, and it is good for you. Number 2, limit instant gratification. Limit instant gratification. Be aware of how you are being shaped by the algorithm. Specifically, choose the slow way or the slow path from time to time. Make time for silence and solitude. Put down your phone. Limit instant gratification. Number 3, remember your duties. Remember your duties. Especially if your struggle with impatience is tied to things and entertainment. Remember that you have certain duties, all of us, that you must be invested in. So when you are focused on your walk with Christ, your family, your vocation, your church, and each in their proper place, frivolous things occupy a much smaller place in your affections. And this is key. And so these are 3 simple ways in which we can practice patience. Remember the sovereignty of God. Limit instant gratification. And 3, remember your duties. Finally, remember that the fruit of the Spirit is a packaged deal. That means that the absence of patience is connected to an absence of love, joy, peace, gentleness, and self-control. And as we grow in these things, as we set our minds on Christ and we walk in His grace and work out our salvation with fear and trembling, we will grow by His grace in these things because He's good. He desires our sanctification for His glory. And so we will do these things as He allows. And so as we prepare our hearts to confess our sin to Him, let us stand together and sing hymn 629.